hello, and welcome to Lifelong Learning on Location. I'm Ann Hansen, and I'll be your host today as we go on location at Western Nevada College in Carson City. Now, we have a wonderful program at Western Nevada College in early childhood education. Today we'll be talking about parenting tips in this 24/7 world and how Western Nevada College might be able to help parents with the skills that they need, or those who want to be in early childhood education as a career, to find what they need to go out and have a successful career. With me today are two experts in the field. We have early childhood instructor Lori Magnanti at my far left. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you, Ann.
Very good. And we also have a student in the program, Debbie Allen. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you, Ann. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you both. You both have, the one thing I love about early childhood education people is they're so patient, they're so loving, and it's just they're models of the way we should treat children. And I really believe that. I guess, that kind of segues into what each of you do at Western and why you chose to do that. Lori?
Well, I am the full-time early childhood education instructor. I also teach human development and family studies. Those classes are directed to child growth and development, human development overall, families, marriage and families, and we offer a lot of classes in between, multicultural diversity classes. So besides the regular early childhood education classes that are open to students who are looking at early childhood education professional possibilities, or even to parents that would like to learn more about parenting skills, what have you.
And that's a perfect blend, isn't it? It's got something for everyone.
Definitely.
Very diverse, too.
Yes, it is.
Now, Debbie, you're a student in this program, and are you looking for a degree in this area?
Absolutely. Very fortunate to be able to move here and find Lori and learning about all the different things that are the opportunities that are available in the early childhood field.
Now, you've worked in the field, haven't you?
Yeah, I taught up in Idaho for 4 years and then a year down here in preschool, and absolutely love it. But I really want to get my degree in it so I can just continue on.
And do you think that having, organized classes in the subject changes your perspective?
Absolutely. Having taught and then taking these classes helps me to understand, why we were doing things the way they were, learning about how children develop, and I just find it absolutely exciting to get more knowledge on it and to be able to apply it.
And what do you think you'll do someday with it?
Definitely want to teach. My heart is there with the children, but I'm also learning, that there are other opportunities, with the state. Lori's very encouraging in telling all the students about these different opportunities, so the world is opening up.
No doubt. Now, what are some of the careers that are available, Lori?
Well, most people assume when you're looking at a degree in early childhood education, you're limited to teaching in early childhood or working as a director in a center or working in a preschool. But actually there are many professional positions with social services, resource centers, even child welfare programs where an early childhood education is a very fitting degree.
It makes total sense when you say it, but I suppose our scope is narrow until it's broadened, isn't it?
Most definitely.
But we are going to use Lori's expertise and Debbie's intuition from what she's learning to talk about some of the things that parents face in our busy world. And we all know that it seems like it's not a 24-hour day anymore. It just seems like there aren't enough hours, doesn't it?
That's exactly what happens. I hear more parents say today, if I only had 4 more hours in the day, just 4 more hours. And it is a real challenge because we find that, the whole framework of the family is changing. The fastest growing family population are single parent families.
Either with a mother or a father.
Either mother or father. We're seeing more grandparents who are raising their grandchildren. So the whole makeup of the family is changing. And also with the high cost of living, it's almost impossible if in a 2-parent family for only one parent to work with the other parent staying at home. So there comes the need for child care. And of course all parents want to find the best child care that they can for their children. So it really is a challenge for parents today.
I can imagine, and it was for me too as a parent, and trying to work too. So many people don't live near their grandparents anymore or their extended family, do they?
No, they don't. The nuclear family has changed, and so many families no longer have aunts and uncles, parents to use as a resource, whether it be for child care, just general support that families need. So, yes, it has become a real challenge.
And it can cause stress with the children, I'm sure.
Most definitely. When parents are stressed, children feel that stress, and then they become stressed as well.
Absolutely. Now, when Debbie, when you were working in early childhood education, did you notice that trend as well, that a lot of children did not have two-parent families, and that maybe impacted the children?
Yeah, and having grown up in the traditional family as a child, and seeing this generation later, you really feel for them. And I think the early childhood care provider can provide some stability in just another person for that child to learn from, have routines, regular routines to maybe help relieve some of that stress in their lives.
And what are some of the impacts on children that kind of very fast-paced, maybe parents who work different shifts, maybe they're not home on the weekends, maybe their parents are deployed in the military and not home for long periods of time. What kind of stress might that cause to the children?
Well, probably a great deal of the stress comes from just the insecurity of non-routine schedules. Children need schedules, they need consistency in their lives, and that helps them to feel more secure. It's very difficult when parents are working, swing shifts, they're working through the night, and we see a great deal of that in the state of Nevada because of the gaming industry, even the nursing healthcare industry. So the most challenging thing for parents to try to work out is consistency in those schedules so that children will feel more secure.
So give an idea to a parent of what would be an ideal schedule for a child in the sense that, how much sleep should they get, how much, it's a tough issue, but what can you do for a child if you're a parent of a school-age child, for example? What can you do?
Well, regular routines, even if it's in the evening. Parents may come home from work and they're tired and they're trying to get dinner on the table, somehow including the children in that process. And anything that parents can do while they're trying to fix dinner, their house cleaning, any activity they can do to include their children in that process makes them more connected. So.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And certainly bedtimes are always an issue.
Yes, bedtimes are always an issue, and I always encourage parents that have more than one child, let the older child stay up an extra 30 minutes. That makes them feel, a little bit more grown up, and it gives them just a little bit of an edge on, I'm a little bit older, so I have some other responsibilities, and I have some extra, activities that I can do because I'm older. So I think that's important. And also evening traditions, things that we typically do. It might be bath time, then we read a story, we may have to kiss this teddy bear goodnight, and we may have to tuck this giraffe in. Those traditions that we do, those important things that if they happen every night, that makes a child feel more secure. It's when all of that becomes chaos is when they become more stressed.
So the routine doesn't need to be stringent. It doesn't need to be punitive. No. It can just be something that you always do.
Every night.
And parents, about the time that they get totally sick of doing it and think it should go away, I suppose that child is just embracing it.
Exactly. We may be very tired of kissing Teddy every night before bed, but to that child it is extremely important. And if Teddy gets missed, then that's an issue for that child, a stressful issue.
Or a particular storybook needing to be read over and over again. If it's reassuring and, you may be tired of it, but if you do it, and it just eases that transition to sleep. It's probably worth the price.
You know, you make a really good point, because sometimes I know as a parent I probably was guilty of thinking about myself and what I wanted instead of what my little one wanted. And it's very important to keep that in mind, isn't it?
It is. Those evening rituals before bedtime are very important.
Definitely.
Yes.
Now, when you're in the classes, what are some of the things that you've learned already in your program?
Routine. Having a routine helps the children so much, and especially for new children coming into class. They're wanting to know, so when's mommy coming? Or, you know, they want to know what's going to happen. And so if you can say, well, you know, we still need to have snack, we still need to do this activity in story time, then it's home time. And parents have told me how much easier even their child is at home once they see the establishment of a routine. Is so helpful, and it's reassuring to them because they know after this is what's going to happen. There's very few surprises, unless it's the occasional fire drill.
Yeah.
That monthly fire drill.
I'm sure that's always a shock.
Well, at this age, teachers have inside information, so it doesn't need to be surprising. You kind of need to clue them in a little bit.
Oh, I would think. They don't like surprises, do they, children?
No. Even school-age children and even young adults, adolescents, need that routine. They need that schedule because when their life becomes chaos, then they also become stressed.
That's the truth. Now, in terms of parenting today, we have a lot of single families, either with dad or mom or whomever. How does that parent compensate for the lack of the other parent on a daily basis, or what could they do without pretending to be something they're not?
That is difficult for parents, and I would say get them involved in other activities, whether it be sports, boys and girls clubs, other avenues where they can get that role modeling from someone else. Parents often try to take on the role of being mother and father, and that's very difficult to do. In fact, it's almost impossible to do. And so parents need to know that there are resources out there for them that they can connect with their children, and that certainly helps a great deal.
Describe some of those resources.
Well, we have the Boys and Girls Club, you have Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, sports, you have coaches and other fathers or other mothers that are involved, those types of activities. And I know it's just adding to a parent's already busy schedule, but those activities are important.
And certainly they create memories for that child that'll be happy ones, hopefully.
Most definitely.
Now, when you're in your program, what do you feel is the most important thing for you to learn, for you to be able to go out and to be successful in your career?
I think continuing to learn about families as a whole. We're talking about the changing families, and that also affects the child caregivers, be it teacher, depending on where you're at in the child's life. Communication between the parents and the teacher, child caregiver is so important because you need to know what's going on in that child's life, because that's going to affect, maybe their behavior at school. And if you're in communication with that parent, then you can ease whatever, problems, be more understanding and supportive of that child and the parent.
Certainly. And now I know that you are one of the students who help other students to succeed in the program, and tell me what you do to help the other students to succeed.
I'm happy to say that I'm in the Peer Mentor program at WNC, and it's the first time the Early Childhood Education has a peer mentor, and I'm thrilled to be working with Lori and with the students in the program. I've been taking classes from her from over a year now, and I feel that kind of helps me benefit these new students, whether they're just out of high school and entering college, or even students, whatever stage of life they're in. I can, support them in the whole college area, direct them if they have questions.
Do you have study sessions or?
I have, like office hours. I'm available. They can contact me at Lori's office. I have an email address that they're welcome to contact me at. Mostly what we're trying to do is get a sense of community with these early childhood education students, because we can be so supportive to one another.
Certainly when you can create a learning community, people do succeed at a higher rate, don't they?
Yeah. Most definitely. And in our discipline, we find that the students move from one class to another as they're working on their certificate or AAS degree. So we become somewhat of a family.
I'm sure.
And so Debbie is just helping that process along.
Well, and I would think that as a group you're fairly nurturing. At least it appears to
Yes.
be. So that also helps a student who may be nervous about entering the program to know that this is a group that really wants you to succeed.
That's
just as a parent would want a child to succeed.
Yeah, that's true.
Lori, tell us about, you mentioned the child care issue, and that just looms. You know, it's so expensive, and I'm sure a lot of parents need to cut corners. But what's the value of quality childhood, and how can parents try to afford that?
Well, it is difficult. First of all, research has definitely shown us that quality programs are critical. If a child is going to be in a child care center from anywhere to 20 to 40 hours a week, it needs to be a quality child care program. We have seen programs that are poor in quality tend to often provide experiences that sometimes create more aggressiveness in children.
Down the road, huh?
Down the road. And so it's important that parents find that quality child care. And I would just like to say that for those parents who are not exactly sure what they need to be looking for in a quality program, there's a wonderful website that they can access. It's NAEYC. It is the National Association for the Education of Young Children. And all a parent would need to do would be to type in NAEYC on their computer, on the internet, and the website will come up with so many areas for parents to concentrate on. You know, what they should look for in a child care program. It will give a very detailed list of what they can look for. It gives all of the criteria for a quality program. So it really is a beneficial website, and I would certainly encourage parents to access that website.
Can you touch on a few of the things that you think are most important?
Certainly. Training of teachers. Teachers need to have some training in early childhood education, guidance, discipline techniques, developmentally appropriate curriculum, best practices of a center. Teachers need to have that information. Looking at the environment, does the environment have enough equipment to provide for lots of learning possibilities, dramatic play areas, block areas, creativity art areas, language literacy areas, and do they have equipment, materials that support those learning centers and that development, that best practices in age-appropriate and stage-appropriate learning.
And of course, these could be done in a home as well, but as well as a child care center.
Certainly, we have center-based programs where parents take their children to an actual center, or we have home-based programs where parents may take their children to an individual who is licensed to care for 6 to 10 children or so.
I hear parents and especially older people who are continually surprised at how early children can learn. And I just wondered if you could touch on that, both of you. You both have experience in this field. It's surprising, isn't it? How early can children learn, and what can they learn?
Well, they're learning from the moment they're born. I mean, and that's the classes that Lori is teaching the students and myself. They're just not little lumps. They're these babies. I mean, they are sponges, and from moment one, they are just learning and absorbing. And things that we need to remember is that they're learning from the people in their lives. What they see you do, they're absorbing.
They're modeling. They will model.
Yes, they will. They will. So it's so exciting. And
and frightening in a way.
Oh, absolutely, yes. You really have to mind your P's and Q's because they're watching you constantly.
Well, it's important to know also that early care educators have always said that those first few years are critical for development, and adult outcomes are so important based upon those early years. Now we have empirical data that tells us that those first few years are in fact extremely important when it comes to development.
Throughout the gamut of food and rest and stimulus and...
Exactly. And quality child care programs. We now have more state preschool programs across the nation than we've ever had before. Preschools that are actually located at the elementary school site. We now have teaching endorsements or credentials that address infant and preschool, not just elementary school and secondary, because of all of the current data.
So a lot of innovative school districts and states are actually reaching down to that preschool level, aren't they, and actually funding
definitely.
that and having it on an organized scale.
Exactly.
What are some of the types of programs that you might see in those preschool? Would they be teaching math? Would they be teaching science? Would it be directed play, as you said?
Most definitely. Of course, it is developmentally appropriate curriculum based on those appropriate ages and stages. But yes, then these preschools usually run anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5, 4 hours per day, possibly Monday through Thursday, depending upon the school. And it focuses not on only appropriate early care or early education, but many of the programs incorporate the parents as well, getting the parents involved in the literacy process, what's going on with their child's development. So it is very definitely an important component of education today.
Now, in the area of discipline, that's always one that is paramount, unfortunately, because it's a little person that you're dealing with, and that person has opinions from a very early age. And so, what are the latest techniques that are being advocated in early childhood discipline?
Well, there are many techniques, and I always encourage parents to be careful, because we can pick a parenting or a discipline book off the shelf and read it and say, boy, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this exactly by the letter. But what we're doing is setting ourselves up for failure. And the children are not really sure what's going on because we're trying something new. Doesn't seem to be working. I always encourage parents, to draw from different books, to draw from different discipline approaches. Draw those things that work best for them as a family, because if it doesn't work for them, it's not going to work for the family, and it's one more book that we can give to a neighbor or put in the yard sale. So I encourage parents, they're going to discipline based on the way that they were disciplined themselves, which is okay, but look at those best practices, look at what's appropriate, and then draw from the many different discipline theories, the discipline books, and pick out those pieces that work for them, and then put it together and develop their own unique discipline program.
And that makes sense to say it in theory, but in practice it can be difficult if the child really won't, get dressed, for example.
Certainly.
What are some techniques?
Well, what works for one child is not going to work for another. And again, it depends on not only the child, but their temperament. Some children have very easygoing temperaments, so they're very flexible. They'll go along with anything. Other parents or other children have a more challenging temperament, and it does become more difficult. The most important thing for parents is, if there's a two-parent family, they need to work together. They need to decide on the same discipline or guidance measures, and they need to be consistent with them. Children need consistency. They need to know that when my mother or my father or my grandparent says, if I don't eat what's on my plate, I need to wait until breakfast, that's exactly what's going to happen. That if I come crying down at 9 o'clock at night and say, I'm hungry, well, okay, we'll give you something to eat, then everything that has been stated by the parents makes absolutely it has no power, it has no weight. And so, of course, the children learned that, what mother or father says is not always what happens. So consistency is very important. And if parents do not always agree on the form of discipline or guidance they should be using, which is
very common.
It's very common with families, then those parents need to negotiate. They need to negotiate so that they are both comfortable with a plan that they can stick with and they can be consistent with.
Very good. And in the program, what kinds of courses do you have generally that people might be interested in that are coming up?
Well, we offer Principles of Guidance, which is a wonderful class that talks about guidance, all of the components of guidance, because it's not just a discipline plan, okay? Guidance includes communication, it includes schedules, it includes room arrangements, whether it's in the classroom or at home, the bedroom. It can include curriculum. It's a real eclectic, approach to guidance. So it includes many things. So the guidance class definitely addresses that issue. We have the Lifespan Human Development class, which I really encourage parents to take because it covers all of the developmental components of children, adolescents, and even adults, and it really helps us to take a look at us as individuals, our children, and how we fit together as a family, which is very important, yes.
Treat each other as individuals.
Exactly, yeah.
If you were talking to someone out in our audience who might be considering an early childhood career, what would you tell them about how to get started?
Wow. Come to the campus. I'd love to take you around, talk with you, visit with you.
Should they try a
really
class?
Absolutely. Lori offers some really wonderful one-credit classes. So if you're just I wonder, or if you're a parent and you just maybe want a little more information, she even has some classes that are offered 2 Saturdays out of the semester that you can fit in. And I know that the classes I've taken, there's a lot of parents in there that just want some information, about children, about parenting. And that's the beauty of their early childhood is that, what works for teachers works for parents. Different settings, but you're still working with young children.
Right.
And that's your focus, the young children. What is best for these kids? So.
That's great advice for anyone out there who's considering, first of all, needing parenting help or a career. In the very short time that we have left, how would parents or anyone in our viewing audience contact you or get started?
Well, first of all, they can go onto the WNC website, which is WNC.edu, and the Early Childhood Education Program will be listed there on that website. They can call me at 445-4449, and I would be happy to answer any questions on classes that they may want to take, different programs, the 1-year certificate program, the 2-year AAS degree. Perhaps they're interested in transferring to a 4-year institution. We can discuss that. So they just need to give me a call or get on that website, and we'll certainly be so willing to help them out. We have an open door policy.
Absolutely.
In my office, so give me a call at any time. If I don't answer the phone, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
That's perfect. Oh, I want to thank both of you for joining me. It was a very enjoyable show, and I think it was very informative, too.
Great.
And thank you for joining us, too, on Lifelong Learning on Location. See you next time.